Hello, and welcome back to the Fasting Focused Lifestyle Podcast. I'm so glad you're here. I know it's been a hot minute since we had an episode, but sometimes the best things are worth waiting for, in my opinion. So I want to take today's episode opportunity to give a little bit more of a reintroduction since we first had my story. And specifically, I want to talk and address about how I personally, passionately feel that everything I am today, where I am, what's going on in my life, is directly related to the decision of sticking to my fasting journey and staying consistent no matter what. So if you're curious to hear more, stay tuned.
Welcome to the Fasting Focused Lifestyle Podcast, where we will explore how a simplified practice of fasting can positively influence your entire body, mind, and lifestyle, helping you live a long, healthy, and meaningful life. Hi, I'm Vicky, and I'm your passionate fasting support coach. With fasting as a lifestyle tool, I've shed over 200 pounds and kept it off without any surgery, diet fads, or gimmicks. And I am confident you can also achieve all your goals with this powerful lifestyle tool. If you're ready to tap into history's oldest healing modality for yourself, I encourage you to check out my services at thefastingfocusedlifestyle.com. I appreciate you for joining me on this week's episode, and I look forward to sharing some valuable fasting support with you after this short ad break. Thank you.
Yes, hello. Let me give you a big virtual hug. I appreciate you hanging out with me today on episode 90. Can you believe it? We're at episode 90 of the Fasting Focus Lifestyle Podcast. And while it's been a hot minute since we had an episode, the best things in life are worth waiting for, I personally believe. Just a little testament to how I passionately feel about this journey as well. So to get started, if you have not heard episode 1, my story, take a moment and listen to that. And then I think you'll appreciate more the context of why I'm doing this reintroduction episode 90 today. So to start, for those of you that have listened to the episode, I have struggled with obesity and being at least 200 pounds overweight for pretty much my entire life. Being an emotional eater was my constant. It was all that I knew. Any kind of hard emotional reaction, stressor, excitement, depressive sort of feeling was a good enough of an excuse for me to turn to food. And if you were raised in that, if that's all that you knew, that's pretty hard to reprogram and remove out of your mind. So that was something that I learned from family, from friends around me. And it was just, I didn't question it. That was just like, oh, you're stressed, have some food. Oh, you were happy and excited, let's have some food. And it only got worse over time. When I was 16 years old and my mom suddenly passed from the poisoning that was going on inside of her body from breast implant surgery that happened at the beginning of the year in the year 2000. And that September, she passed away from, it was like a toxic sort of thing that happened. So that contributed heavily to the habit that I had with being an emotional eater and no longer having my mom as that steady source of emotional support and really just being there. Like if you have family members or friends that are always just there to help love and support on you, that was my mom. And to not have that, I still get a little bit choked up, like talking about it and thinking about those thoughts and feelings. But it heavily contributed to how I was a very, very persistent emotional eater in all parts of my life. It was not a very good kind of relationship that I had with food. I always found myself searching for that kind of emotional security and fulfillment with, the pleasure seeking and kind of that drug-like high, or I don't know. I just felt like food was dictated so much of my decisions from the moment I woke up to the moment I went to sleep that night, pretty much eating nonstop throughout the entire day. And after my mom passed away, it was this feeling of pretty isolated. I didn't really feel like I had anybody in my corner at the time. And I was in high school when she passed. So I remember just having if that feeling like when you lose somebody, and I've had a lot of deaths, so I totally know, even more so after my mom's death, but that feeling of like the rug pulled out from under you and not knowing where your rooting is and not knowing what's safe or what's comfort or who you can talk to or what's familiar. And it was just a very challenging part of my life, which I feel like it could have gone in a different direction if it was handled differently. And I'm not in the position now to point blame or anything. To me, I see it now where I am in my life and what I've achieved as something that I can reflect and look back upon and see and acknowledge in others that may be experiencing that for themselves, to identify like, hey, maybe we're having issues emotional eating. How can I offer insight and advice and guidance so that you don't stay stuck there and you see that little glimmer of hope and light to pull yourself out of it? So after my mom passed, throughout the years, adolescence into early adulthood, um, because of the size that I was, I remember trying so many different fad diets and things that were quick fixes, like the HCG drops. And I later found out, like a couple weeks afterwards, that I was pregnant with my son. After that pregnancy, I started taking those the phentermine capsules, tablets, and then a couple weeks later, after some minor success as well, I found that I was pregnant with my daughter. So I felt this feeling of like, oh yes, I'm off to a good start, and then it would mess up somehow. And truth be told, I actually see behavior like that in a lot of the clients that I support, and they think of fasting in this sort of gimmicky sort of approach. After my second pregnancy, and I had healed from surgery because I had C-sections for both of my kids, I remember stumbling upon this program called Ideal Protein and really going all in because I thought that would be something that would lead to a successful weight management. It was highly touted, respectful, like it was something that I saw a lot of valid claim and efficacy because of where I got it and who I got it from. My local chiropractor's office, which I highly respected, still very much highly respect my chiropractor's office back in Ocala. But after multiple attempts, after doing the program with my late husband, we had bits and pieces of success. There were things about that program, even as I later became a coach working to help others with Ideal Protein in their weight management journey. I noticed that there were things that didn't sit right with me, that I wasn't in a position where I could question or refute them. I just had to go along the protocol and program with how I was advocating for support in this program for others on their weight loss journey. So I've talked about this before, and my experience with these diet Franken foods. When I was a coach with Ideal Protein, the things that I learned from coaching my clients one-on-one in person at the office, again, this was at a chiropractor's office, I would see the struggle that my clients would face with the heavily restricted list of food items and things that they had to kind of get creative and do research of, like, what is a jicama? How do I make cauliflower more palatable when I actually want potatoes? How do I prepare these foods? Ew, this food tastes this way, or oh, this food makes me feel this way. There was so much of like, how do I describe it? Of this altering your life to make these Franken artificial foods work instead of just trusting a lot. There was a lot of distrust of common sense things, protocols, and practices that were expected of the clients that would come in week after week after week. And yeah, I personally had success. My late husband had some success, but there were over time, and I worked at two different chiropractic offices, not at the same time, but one location. And then when they disbanded the Ideal Protein program, I went to another office and continued giving my support and expertise with, the people there that wanted to still participate in the program. And I saw, like, to me, it was this great learning opportunity of like, okay, the idea of ketosis and metabolic ketosis works, but the route that we were taking with the fad diet foods and the supplements that they mandated that you had to take, the restricted list of grocery items and the strict metrics of like what your week had to look like and what meals per day had to look like and how many foods you had to have and what was expected at each weigh-in. It was like, at the beginning, it felt like empowering, like, yes, we have like this structure sort of approach. But as time went on, I saw it as like, and one of the things also, which I heavily advocate against, unless you benefit significantly from it, is food journaling. So I remember personally, like, coming in as a client, that I would come in and meet with who I was getting support from Ideal Protein with at the time. And just kind of like before the appointment, I would be in my car because my late husband was usually with me, and just like scribbling some things on a piece of paper and being like, oh, that's what I ate, and be like, I think I ate this, and I should write that I had this. I saw that same behavior in my clients. That's this kind of like, I'm not going to be honest and genuine and forthcoming with the choices that I made. And there was a lot of like, getting back to how I said with being an emotional eater, there was a lot of like not attending to the repressed emotions and guilt and poor relationship with eating. And by no means like having this restricted food lists and, rules and metrics and expectations as like, this is the only way that you can be successful with this program. It's the XYZ 1, 2, 3, 1. And if they didn't follow that to the letter, then it was like, nope, come back next week. Man, like, I know what it's like to be on the other side of that. And that's not helpful at all. There was so much, it's like this duality exists with my relationship with Ideal Protein. I appreciated it. I learned a lot from it, but I also learned what not to do and how not, that it's not going to be providing long-term maintenance. Because there were people that I remember coaching and supporting, and they would come in and they would have like a 2.5 pound loss or 3 or 4 pound loss from the previous week. And they'd be like, woo! As they would get closer to the next phase, as it was called in the program, because we had a fucking binder full of questions and answers and things that I was supposed to say and convey to the clients. And side note, like, I didn't mean this episode to be fully about like dogging on Ideal Protein, but this is just like, I feel like this has been such a core thing. That transition from the weight loss phase, as they call it, into the maintenance phase, I could not agree with that at all. You were still expected to consume a significant amount of their program food, as well as other food list items, in order to maintain long term. And from my research and just lived experience now, as someone who's come well out of the other side and understands fully like where all of this stems and originates from, keto in way of eating is not meant to do long term. It should be, if any keto at all is ever attempted, it should be done in brief periods of time. And keto is fasting mimicking. That was the biggest. When I learned that, I was like, what? And I think that kind of made the connection after both my grandparents passed away, who, like I said, with my mom passing away, that was their only biological daughter. So they grieved her death pretty much every single day for 17 and 18 years. And that was miserable to be around. Like, anytime I would go over to their house, it would be like, love you, Nana Papa. And like, let's try to be happy and fun and hang out. And you could feel the grief and misery, like just like oozing out. And I'm later now realizing, after the death of my husband, that I'm a very empathetic person. Like, I feel people's energy very deeply. And I just remember so often that my grandparents would just be like Oh, all right, let's go somewhere today. Oh, food. Let's go let's go get our pills. And then let's go get food. I tried so many times to like, hey, let's try this. Like I did the juicing. My late husband and I did the juicing. I tried to get them doing like ideal protein and like other things. Nothing ever moved the needle. They had like wants and desires, but it was like the way that I kind of remember describing it at one point was their situation, and I understand they had traumas and things in their life that probably put them into this situation as well as, on top of losing my mom. And I remember thinking and feeling like the way that they were commiserating on a regular basis with each other was equivalent to standing on a train track with the train coming and whining and crying like, oh, the train's coming. Well, get off the fucking track. Like, move, get off the track. And that ornery kind of, I think maybe the word of wanting to just stay in the misery. They wanted to stay in that self-perpetuating guilt. They wanted me to commiserate with them and, oh, I miss mom. Oh, la, la, la. Like, honestly, I knew my mom and she would sure as hell not want them to commiserate the way that they did. And I very, very passionately, firmly believe that they could have had a longer life if they wanted and were willing to choose it. And for me, tying that all together back with my experience with ideal protein and different weight loss fads and gimmicks that I had tried in the past, it was like I knew that this discomfort that would come up with my emotional relationship with food had to be dealt with right at the front. Like I had to bring it straight head on and deal with it and identify what these things were. And to me, that meant electively choosing to stray away from my habitual everyday routine of eating from sunup to sundown, like pacifying those hard emotions with food. I knew that that was the one, I can feel the emotion now. That was the one big low hanging fruit that was like, this is the one commonsensical, simple kind of duh, Vicky thing that was like, stop fucking eating all day. Like I felt myself saying to myself, Vicky, stop fucking eating all day. And that was the first thing that moved the needle for me, starting at almost 400 pounds. I'm on 5'11", so I'm tall and I got like the pear curvy shape. And I was always told, Vicky, you're always going to be the big girl. Oh, Vicky's just the fat one. Vicky's just this. And I'm just like, I detached so much from the judgment of others through this journey that I can see and hear and acknowledge that that was my past now and be like, yeah, that's who I was. That's not who I am. That's not who I am now anymore. But I know that through this journey, I had to sit with those moments of discomfort. I had to head on. I had to proactively make the choice every single day to decide to stay in that fasted state. And for me, the easiest, most simple thing to do to really gain traction for myself was to choose to not eat breakfast simply until 12, 1 o'clock. And the further on that I get, honestly, and I remember it being day by day by day, feeling more like it was a game. Like, how can I level up one more from the day previous? How can I improve just a little bit more of who I was the day before? And for me, when I started, like I said, I did 16-8 in the first method that I tried, which is also what I advocate to others getting restarted or starting right from scratch as well. To me, that's the easiest thing to do, because if we have this habitual constant habit of pacifying our thoughts, emotions, behavior with food from the moment we wake up, if that first moment, as soon as your eyes open, you're like, oh, what am I going to eat? All the way nonstop eating until the end of the day. And you're like, oh, I just got to have something before you go to bed. Like, that may be the low hanging fruit, as I say with finger quotes. That may be the thing that starts to move the needle for you. So for me, when I integrated this 16-8 protocol within 2 weeks, and again, I advocate this flexibility of knowing that and this is going to get hippy dippy woo woo weirds, but if you're with me and if you know me, then you'll ride with it and be like, okay, Vicky's just being Vicky. The more the days went on, especially in that first couple weeks, month even, I let myself get super fucking weird with this. And I was like, how do I feel? And I remember sitting, like I still do now to this day. I will just let myself sit and be like, where are my thoughts? How do I feel? How do I feel with what is coming? What needs to be done today? What needs to be done tomorrow? What I want to do today? And I did this kind of mental inventory that I advocate for others to do, no matter where you are on your journey. That where are your thoughts at? Are you hyperfixating on food, upcoming food choices, on breaking your fast? Like, how do you feel about what's going on with your body and the sensation? So that bodily check-in with yourself. What does it feel like? Is it hard? Is it uncomfortable? Do you feel yourself like yearning to go get something in the kitchen? And to me, if I was having these thoughts and feelings of like, ooh, I could just want that, yum, 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 that was a sign for me to get up and just do something. It didn't mean had to go like hit the gym and work out or go, like whatever. It was just do the next thing that I could see was accessible to do. I'm very much artsy fartsy. I have almost always a painting going on. I almost always have some kind of living project that I can always tend to. And I still believe in that. I still believe that there's things that we can put our mind and focus and creativity to, and allowing ourselves opportunities to get into that actual term called flow, where we lose track of time and we just get, as I like to say, lost in the sauce, and time flies in those moments. And as I've come to realize too, that time will fly when you're having fun. You've probably heard that before. So anytime those thoughts of like, oh, he's starting to get hungry. Oh, it's usually this time to eat. Oh, you want just feeling of like crunchy, mushy, salty, gooey, chocolatey, whatever, that was like, oh, time to get up, time to move around, time to do this. And over the years, I just found little tips and quirks and things that worked for me. And this is the part of the journey that I want folks to really take ownership and know that it doesn't have to be to a list of parameters, expectations, guidelines, because that's pretty much for the majority of folks with approaching weight management and balance. Diet, that fucking term, diet is by definition it's a way of eating. It's not a weight loss, blah, 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 blah. Like I can't stand that, makes my skin crawl. So when people say like, oh, the fasting diet, oh, I'm not a violent person, but I'm like, oh, it's crazy. Absolutely crazy. Fasting diet. Oh my God. That's like, but seriously, like fasting as a lifestyle tool to me has allowed so much more freedom, flexibility, and honestly, a total mind reframing flip. And like I was talking about, that first month was absolutely pivotal in my long-term adherence, consistency with this lifestyle. Like I remember, and I've shared this before, I remember standing, it was in the aftermath still. My grandmother had passed away the 1st of June, and this was the beginning of August. And I believe it was August 9th. I think it was like 8, 9, 18 was the first day that I like started fasting. But I remember that moment, and it was late at night, and everybody, because we were staying at my grandparents' house before we sold it, standing in the living room, and I'm underneath the ceiling fan in the living room. And it's one of those moments that I'm like, I'm going to do this fasting. I'm going to do it my way. I'm going to do it to my rules, my parameters, my expectations. I'm going to make it fun. I'm going to make it uniquely me. I just remember that moment. I took so much ownership and acknowledgement in the efficacy of this very powerful tool after everything that I've seen. Lots of videos, Dr. Fung, Dr. Berg, my friend Chris James with A Healthy Alternative, that I've been featured a bunch in his videos. And I just remember seeing so much content and being like, this is it. I'm going to try it. I'm going to try fasting. I'm going to do it. And I get goosebumps right now talking about it. Because that was my turning point. And I let it be open. And I encourage this to other folks as well. And I've spoken to, many hundreds of folks now throughout the years. The thing that I notice and see through a lot of my clients is that there's this firm, rigid sort of hold that we have with how they feel fasting has to be. And it's, to me, that's the opposite. Fasting is like a mode that's innately already within you. That means that you have to have that present mind and awareness of like, I'm deciding to drop in. I'm deciding to check in and to participate and allow my body to get to this innate mode that exists within every single one of us. It's a tool that we have to check in and utilize within ourselves. So after that first month, I think my first month I went down 30 pounds. Like I went down 21 pounds in my first 2 weeks. And I was like, holy shit, this is great. This is great. And the further on that I got, the more challenge that I stepped into for myself, more excitement, more excitement. And I had this sense, which I highly encourage others, and I've mentioned this many times as well. If you can find ways to treat this journey and experience as a game, as something that you're seeing it not as determining what the value is of who you are, what number presents when you step on this little glass piece on the floor, but seeing and really evaluating how this deliberate choice makes you feel, how it reinforces what thoughts, feelings, and beliefs you have around food choices and so on and so forth. Because to me, I understood that the beginning needed to have a focus on the fasting, hence the focused lifestyle. So it was, I remember making that conviction within myself of I'm going to make fasting what I pay attention to and sticking to. Everything else will come. I remember assigning that value in my mind. Everything else, all those other changes, I know I need to move more. I know I need to clean up my food choices. But man, the biggest factor for me was I was eating nonstop all day. But yet I was like, why can't I lose weight? Oh, duh, Vicky, you're eating all day. No shit. So like understanding the further on that I got, the more excited, more videos that I would watch about fasting. And I wanted to just keep learning everything. But I very much am still that person. What other studies have come out? What other things can I learn about this? Like now with all the crazy fads, and like this wasn't a thing when I started my journey back in 2018, but like all these fucking GLPs and like injections and shortcuts and gimmicks and fads. And I'm like, what are we doing? Like we're trying to just, I don't know, to me, it seems like such a cheapy, gimmicky Temu version of what power is already existing within us with this very powerful tool that we just elect to participate in. So, I'm not going to dog on people for needing to have medications for things that their doctor is prescribing. And I'm absolutely not against like trauma medicine stuff. But for me, in my life experience, especially like what I've seen firsthand, losing my mom, that's elective surgery. And the people that I've spoken to all throughout the years that have chosen elective surgery for weight loss, when, I know there's times where there's going to be heavily doctor recommended procedures and stuff, but to me, if it's life-saving surgery that is needed, that's one thing versus like, I have no other options. I don't know what else to do. I just want to, we'll just have the surgery or we'll use the injection. And to me, that's like, that's so like, I wish I could just send a sense of like empowerment of like, just try it for a week, a couple weeks, see how you feel. And truth be told, like I've seen the shows and episodes and multiple different documentaries, because I love me some documentaries, where Dr. Now, if you've ever seen the My 600 Pound Life, even in those shows, he does a very mild form of fasting, like liquid diets. And these folks have hard times with that. And they're like, there's so much of the mental and emotional component that comes right along side by side of the weight loss journey. And I've addressed this before, but that's a big part of why we are where we are when we start, of the mental, emotional, habitual kind of relationship with our eating frequency, our food choices, the quality of food, how we feel being around food. And to me, that process should be slow. It should be messy. It should be a lot of opportunities for realization but compassionately and respectfully to who we were, who we're evolving into, acknowledging those traumas, those stressors, leaning heavily, heavily, heavily into a form of meditation that works for us. Like, not everybody's meditation is going to look the same. Whatever allows you to just like check out from, the stressors and impulsive reactions and decisions. Because boy, I've been there, of just impulsive eating and blacking out when you eat, like inhaling a family-sized bag of Cheetos because you're an emotional tailspin because your grandmother told you that she wanted to die of first spoken words on Mother's Day. Like, I remember that. I remember blacking out and I remember coming to, but nothing in that middle ground. So to me, fasting is my ticket to live. The long story short here, fasting is absolutely my ticket to live. And was it a realization that I came to through trudging through the mud of my journey, trudging through. And I've equated this also in previous, discussions and podcast episodes. To me, it's like, okay, I need to go on a road trip, the road trip being like the weight loss journey. And either way, I know I could get there. But it's like, you can either take the I-95, the main route that everybody takes, the GLPs, the surgeries, the this, the that, the fads and everything, or you could take the scenic route. It's going to be really enjoyable. There's going to be plenty of opportunities for sightseeing, for learning opportunities, for rerouting, for just leveling up and making it such a positive and memorable experience. Like, I don't know how many people would say, oh yeah, I loved the drive on 95 from Florida to New Hampshire, Massachusetts, wherever up on the East Coast or wherever. Like, yeah, driving on 95 was awesome. I don't know how many people would say that, but if you take like the scenic route and you take your time and you savor and enjoy and make memories, learn. Obviously, there's definitely going to be some hardships and challenges along the way. But to me, that makes it all the more worthy and meaningful to keep going, to keep pushing through. And my mental framework around seeing my situation in this sort of victim mentality that I used to have, and Vicky like 1.0 is how I'm calling it. I don't see things in a negative sense. Like, I've had so many opportunities of just acknowledging and owning that, wow, yeah, I was very much in a victim kind of mentality mindset because I thought like, ooh, everybody hates me. I'm just going to eat my feelings and I'm going to eat in secret and hide away and all this stuff, like that normal victim mentality way of living in life, only added to the negativity that I was experiencing. So the deliberate choice through this lifestyle of utilizing fasting in my life made it easier for me to see these challenges as learning opportunities. And my default setting for a lot of the way that I think and speak is not in a everything is fine as like the house is burning behind me, but it's like a realistic sort of optimism that is very much more proactive and not like self-deprecating as I used to be. And that was, I don't even think that there was like a day where it was like, yep, victim mentality, whoop, yep, I'm cured. It was this just a gentle and gradual sort of realization that I've also seen in so many other people that I've supported through the years as well. And again, this is something where we're just daily showing up for ourselves and realizing like, hey, I didn't think that I could go 16, 18, 20, 48, 72 hours without eating. Wow. Oh my God, I'm so badass. Woo. And you're just like, you have these moments of celebration, which you definitely need to. And journaling, documenting your journey in whatever goofy, awesome, wonderful way that makes the most sense for you, do it. I remember documenting my journey throughout, and at the beginning of my fasting journey, it was just like, yay, I'm doing this. And it was just, I didn't want to put it all out there because I was very much like, hey, other attempts with juicing and Ideal Protein. We had shared publicly, like my late husband and I on our Facebook, we would share all that stuff. And I was just like, something in me was saying, don't put it all out there yet. You can photo and document yourself, which I definitely did. But I wasn't like, whop, put it in everybody's face. I let the results speak for themselves. And I believe it was around like the next summer or so before Jim passed away that I started really catching my stride. And then as my outside world with like soon to be a widow and in and out of hospital and Jim getting worse and like the kids and school and everything, it was just like, despite all of this, I need to make sure that this vessel stays in optimal working order. Like over throughout the decline in my late husband's health, and I'm not trying to go like, wah, wah, I'm a widow, me, but just to shed a little bit of light on it. In those moments where we know we're approaching an extremely emotional or stressful situation, my default setting, no question, is to stay in a fasted state. If I've got something stressful, something challenging, if we're traveling, if we're doing something that requires a lot of physical exertion and just like ready, go, 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 I'm going to stay in a fast. That's my just not, I don't even question it. It's just my default setting. But learning to get into that mode in the summer of 2019 was hard, but it was rewarding at the same time, because I knew whenever we had those doctor visits or any time that he would go into the hospital, which was very often, many weeks in the summer of 2019, throughout that entire summer, we were at the hospital a lot with him. We were at doctor's visits a lot and getting worse and worse as time went on. But I knew I had to stay true to what I had established and set up for myself. So then, like, again, not to go too far into it, but before, as he's getting transferred into hospice, him telling me to not let myself go the way that my grandmother did when she became a widow, I was like, absolutely, like my life depends on it, because it does. And it was, to me, it was him acknowledging what he knew old Vicky was like, because we had done the yo-yo diets together and all this other, the fat, the juice fasting and the different drops and different crazy workouts and stuff. We'd all done that together, but he knew and had seen my experience thus far and knew what was capable of. And I took that promise very seriously and compassionately and responsibly knew. And that's still an incredibly huge and significant form of motivation and determination to why I do what I do, who I am to this day, that just keeps me going forward, because I know through this lifestyle, I have become the best version of myself. That I never had this on like a vision board or I never set out, I want to lose 200 pounds. It just happened. I just stayed excited, stayed committed, and really understood how much of an innate, instinctive kind of lifestyle and tool that this was, went full all in, bit by bit, more and more over time, and really excited to just let what was naturally going to unfold within itself, with just attending to it each and every single day that I possibly could. So in a nutshell, that's my full story. But additionally, I want to add on, I have Matias everywhere. I'm very much welcoming and embracing this Greek influence culture. And the reason why I passionately feel I have every single thing now in my life is because I chose to start and stay consistent with this fasting lifestyle. So in a nutshell, because I started this fasting lifestyle, even throughout becoming a widow in the midway of my journey, not intending, but reaching over 200 pounds shed. And I don't mean it to be like a braggy sort of thing, but it's a damn, yeah, I'm proud of myself for this. Getting acknowledged by the very doctor that I follow, Dr. Jason Fung, has spoken about my story, shared as well, connected with Dr. Eric Berg, if you've ever heard with him, and connected, and he knows my story, and that's extremely wonderful now. And being able to do the online schooling with Arizona State University, learning about how to become an effective health coach and advocate for health and wellness, with obviously the attention to fasting as a very powerful healing modality. But then eventually learning and finding out about blue zones and finding that I do have this deep passion and really commonsensical kind of like tie to how instinctive they also integrate in many parts of the blue zones, that they integrate fasting practices as well, especially in the Greek Orthodox. And then when I was taking my schooling online with Arizona State University online, learning about this opportunity to travel, to go to one of the blue zones in Icaria, Greece, and that how it was such this challenging, thousands of students apply, but only 20 are selected. Turns out that I'm one of the 20 that were selected because I must have written this great essay. I tried to find it. I don't remember where it is. But anyway, I was selected to go on this transformative trip. But the thing that really, I still look at the pictures and, we like to travel through memories and things. I remember getting off the tiny little plane because I flew from Orlando to Philadelphia to Athens. And when we flew from Athens to Icaria, to the island, getting off that plane, walking in the tiny little airport, this overwhelming feeling of, you're going to be coming back here. Just accept it. I had no idea. What that meant. And it was just this overwhelming feeling of, you will be coming back here probably multiple times. And it was like, okay, didn't understand it. Well, after that 2-week trip, I had an amazing experience, connected with phenomenal people, learned so much. Later that year, that was the summer of 2022, that fall, I connected very, what's the word? Synchronistically, I guess we could call it, very like the gods and, the universe was connecting with me. I'm not an overly religious person, but I do believe in those synchronistic kind of universal things. My now fiance, Trion, reached out to me and, hey, are you an artist? He saw past all the, 200 pounds and fasting coach and this. I had made and shared a post in the Blue Zone community group on Facebook. He had sought me out and connected via conversation. We talked for almost 2 years. And then I decided to see him in person, which that friendship evolved into a love. And now that is who I'm going to be marrying in the next year or so. And really being welcomed and embraced by not only him, but his family and entire island community and everything. I have never felt so like, whoa. That you remember like the 90s show Blossom, where the brother Joey's like, whoa. That's what it felt like when I had the realization, when I came back to the island and I made a visit to see him and meet him in person after talking online on Facebook Messenger for all the time that we did, and being like, wow, okay, this is the route that my life is taking right now. So I'm going to embrace it. I'm going to welcome it with like open arms and just know that I felt there have been so many, again, I'm not religious, but it's going to be woo-woo for if you understand it. I have seen and gotten so many signs, as I call them, that this is like my reward for sticking through and pushing through and like being the change that I wish to see in the world and starting with me. This is what this journey is like giving back to me now. And I'm just embracing it all. Like I feel extremely fortunate, but also at the same time that it wasn't luck. This was that daily showing up for myself. This was advocating for letting the rest and healing happen. And now, like, as I say to you all out there listening, savor the journey throughout the way. Take opportunities to sit and be present with that empty feeling in your stomach and knowing that those growls and hunger pangs, you're fighting habitual habits that you had set up for yourself throughout. And if you have excess body fat, your body is ready to utilize it and burn it and use it. Like that meant that, oh my gosh, that little joke that I have for myself was like, that's your snack. You hear that, and I would always look down at my legs, give a loving little slap on my thighs because I'm still a little pear-shaped, but I love it. And I'd be like, this is your snack. Don't come at me growling. You got food right here. So little fun, quirky things that you can personalize to make this journey as uniquely you as possible so that it doesn't have to fit to societal, metrics and records and things. We're not like that. We have this opportunity to really lean into what is innate and instinctive within us But society throughout our entire life, like, is telling us, you gotta eat breakfast, you don't, if you're hungry in between, have a snack, don't forget lunch, and then gotta have after dinner, gotta have a dinner snack. Like, fuck, that's a lot of eating. Like, that is a lot of eating. And to me, I feel most clear, most sharp, light on my feet, metaphorically and physically. Like, actually, I just feel better when I choose to stay in these fasted states. And I know, because I've been consistently fasting for almost 8 years now, every single day in some form, that's my default setting. And that's because I've established this pattern, habit for myself that old Vicky would have, like, oh, no, you're not going to eat. Oh my gosh, man, this is who we are as humans. Like, this is where there's so much data and research you can seek and find out there. But ultimately, is that going to be enough motivation for anybody to start and be like, yep, I'm going to take all this data and research and implement it on it? No, like, you have to be emotionally compelled to do this and truly understand how powerful this mode, this tool is within us. Understanding that fasting is not a fad. Fasting is as innate and historic and antiquated as we are people. Like, it is the oldest healing modality in recorded human history. You go way back in the ancient texts, and you'll see plain as day in so many different sources that fasting was the tool. Like, before big pharma came on in the 30s, like keto, and I talked about this at length on my keto episode. So if you're interested to hear more, check that out. But keto in its origins exists and came about because of pediatric epilepsy treatments, pediatric for kids, epileptic treatments, and some cancers. Well, think about that. With keto, we know, okay, that's no carbs, no sugar. Well, we took that and went to the nth degree with it, with fads and protocols and products and pacifying, like, oh, have this red velvet keto bar shake. Like, what the fuck are we teaching ourselves to reach for these pacifying foods? And when it doesn't meet that expectation, when we're ingesting the bar, the shake, the cookie, the chip, or whatever, we end up going for the original thing anyway. So around the 30s, when all this stuff happened, fasting was just pushed to the wayside. Like, we're not going to do, that ketogenic practices came about in that time period. And then shortly after, big pharma. So this idea and belief of keeping fasting at such a, valuable part of healthy weight and lifestyle management, I'm glad to see is coming back and being more widely accepted. But the thing that maddens me now is how much people are really gripping onto the idea that they need to have GLPs. And I'm going to offer this as just a little teaser, because I want to talk about GLPs at length in another full episode. So this is your little teaser, come back for next episode. So if you've read, because I have it coincidentally, I have it right here. The latest book that we dissected in our book club, chapter by chapter, is in my school community right now. Okay, if you go to school.com, that's SKOOL.com /the fasting focused lifestyle. You will see my face and my group. And if you look into the classrooms tab, you will see book club, the hunger code. We go over this chapter by chapter by chapter. And the part on GLPs is in chapter 4, how hormones sustain hunger. And we talk about this at length. And I have made a bunch of notes and going to be really dissecting about what the hubbub is about with GLPs, and how fasting actually activates GLPs, just like the injections and pills that exist out there, but naturally, with no side effects, or minimal, very minimal side effects, because it's instinctive and your body has the ability to activate it on its own if you're consistent with fasting. So come back for the next podcast episode if you're interested in hearing more about that. But let me give you a big virtual hug. I appreciate you all hanging out with me today. And again, just like I mentioned, more support and community. I'm growing and building day by day, bit by bit in my school community. So again, that website is school, that's SKOOL.com/the fasting focused lifestyle. And I would be more than happy to see you and support you in that group as well. I appreciate you all hanging out, and again, with your patience in that pause of recorded episodes. Life be lifin', and to me that means if I have to pull back things and prioritize health, wellness, emotional, whatever, still maintaining, still fasting, that's always my non-negotiable priority. And my wish is the same for you all, because you deserve a life full of quality, meaningful memories, at your best health that you can achieve and get for yourself. And honestly, stay there. And I know you can do it. I believe in you, even if you don't. So take care of yourself, and we'll see you again next time.
The Fasting Focused Lifestyle Podcast. Copyright 2026. The information given within this podcast is not intended or implied to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Please consult your doctor before starting any weight loss method. Thank you.